Hi everyone, this is the first video of our video series, The History of English Literature. So this is the part 1. So in this video series, we will be dealing with the history of each of the English period, the historical, political, social and literary features of each age. So why are we doing this video is because if you are studying for NDA NET examination, it is really essential for you to understand or you to study the features of each age and also the connection of one age to the age preceding it and the age succeeding it. Okay, so that is one important thing that you have to look while you are preparing for your NDA NET examination. Because for example, if you look at the question paper of December 2023 and June 2024, you can find that there were questions asked to arrange each periods in chronological order because each age is important. For example, if you are looking at Victorian age is a response to Romantic age and is also a reason for the changes in the modern age. So you cannot study an age in isolation when it comes to British literature. You have to study each ages in relation to the age preceding it and also to the age succeeding it. So here in this video series, we will be dealing with the major authors, the important works, the important historical events of each of these ages. So here you can find that we will be uncovering the key authors, the major works, the major timelines, the major literary works and the major significance of that means the literary features of the age, the significance of that particular age to English literature. Okay, so in this particular video, we will be dealing with Anglo-Saxon literature. And in this series, we will be dealing with Anglo-Saxon literature, Anglo-Norman literature, Age of Chaucer, Age of Revival, Elizabethan Age of Chaucer, Age of Revival, Elizabethan Age, Jacobean Age, Caroline and Civil War. Then we will be dealing with Restoration, and after that we will be dealing with Enlightenment age, Romantic age, Victorian age, Modern age and Postmodern age. So that will be the number of videos that we will be including in this particular series. So anyway, here the first video or the first age that we will be dealing with is Anglo-Saxon literature. So here we will be exploring this fascinating history of Angles, Saxons and Jutes, the three Germanic tribes that shape the course of English literature. We can say that the Angles, Saxons and Jutes, they came from the Germanic background to England, and at that time this particular Britain was the place for the Celtic people, and they completely shifted the Celtic people to the infertile lands of the north and the east, and these Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they came and settled in the most fertile lands. So the Anglo-Saxons and that's how it became this Anglo-Saxon literature. So from the 5th to the 7th centuries, you can find the arrival of Anglo-Saxons to Britain in different batches, displacing the native Celtic speaking people in the Britain and establishing a new cultural identity. And you can find that the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they brought to Britain their tradition, their culture, their language, and which actually is a foundation for the Old English language that we know today. Okay, so we will be, in this particular video, we will be delving into the origins, the migrations, the contributions of these tribes, exploring how they shaped and how they laid the groundwork of the England that we know of today. So coming to the historical background of this Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. So we know that Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they begin with this migration and settlement. So we know Germanic tribes, Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they migrated to Britain post-Roman withdrawal. We will be dealing with their arrival in the next slide. And before that and after this arrival of this Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, another historical event that shaped the entire thought process, or we can say even the literature of England, was the arrival of missionaries, that is the arrival of Christianity. We can say that these Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they actually believed in pagan gods They had this pagan worshipping pattern, but with the arrival of Christianity, slowly this abstract qualities started to enter into their mind and also into literature, like patience, forgiveness, tolerance, so and so. And that is how the entire literature changed from worshipping the war, the warriors, to promoting Christian themes like love, divinity, mercy, tolerance, etc. So Christianization, and here one key thing that you have to remember here is that conversion to Christianity began in the late 6th century as a part of Gregorian mission. Okay, so the Gregorian mission, which is also known as the Augustine mission, it was actually a Christian mission sent by Pope Gregory in the 6th century. Okay, so under this Pope Gregory sent Saint Augustine and some of his fellow missionaries to England, and they arrived in Britain in 596 AD, and the main aim of them was to convert this pagan belief, Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, to convert this Britain's Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. And the mission, it was headed by Augustine of Canterbury. They established monasteries here, and because of these monasteries you could find the documentation, and that is how prose became a prominent genre in Britain during that time, because it was entirely oral. Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, they followed oral tradition, they followed oral literature, where they were giving more focus to poetry. But with the arrival of Christianity, you can find slowly the prose also came to prominence. And also you can find the Viking invasion. That is also one important historical background of that time, from 8th to 11th centuries, leading to cultural exchanges and conflicts. And end of this Anglo-Saxon period is marked by the Norman conquest, which happened in 1066. And in more detail, before the arrival of Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, Britain was ruled by Romans, and the Roman conquest of Britain, it began in AD 43 under Emperor Claudius, and it was largely completed by AD 87 when the Stagnates was established. So for a long period of time, England was under this Roman period. And when the Roman legions left Britain, the Germanic-speaking Anglo-Saxons and Jutes and also Frisians, they began to arrive, at first in small invading parties. So initially they met a little resistance from the relatively defenseless inhabitants of Britain during that time, and they were this Celtic speaking people. And around 500 AD, however, these invaders, they were resisted fiercely by this Romano-British, who might have led by this King Arthur if he existed. So that is the place where that is a timeline where we place this King Arthur, but still whether he lived or not is still a mystery. And the Anglo-Saxon period in Britain, it spans approximately 6 centuries, from 410 to 1066 AD. Okay, so that is about the that is what happened before the arrival of this Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. Now, the various Anglo-Saxon groups, they formed several kingdoms, and there were major 7 kingdoms, and they were often at war with each other, and the most powerful will be ruling. And at one point of time, Wessex became the most powerful, which was led by King Alfred the Great. And that was the beginning of England as a single hall nation. Before that, apart from Britain as a single nation, it was divided into these 7 kingdoms: Kent, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia, Essex, Sussex and Wessex. And in the 9th century, Wessex became the dominant Anglo-Saxon kingdom with the arrival of Alfred the Great, who ruled all these kingdoms and who wanted to create a sense of nationality because of this constant invasion from the different territories. So he wanted to bring a national feeling, a sense of belongingness to his people, and that is how he decided to control all the kingdoms and to merge them as a single nation. So after Alfred the King, you can find Edward the Elder, and after him Athelstan, and he is regarded by some modern historians as the first true king of England, King Alfred the Great. So here the thing was that it was also in his time there came this concept called Danelaw, and because a part of England, a part of Britain was earlier conquered by this Danish people from the southern Scandinavia. That is what we discussed earlier about this Scandinavian influence. And his son Edward the Elder, he conquered the eastern Danelaw, but Edward's son Aethelstan, he became the first king to rule the whole of England. Okay, Aethelstan was the first king to rule whole of England when he conquered Northumbria in 1927 AD. Okay, so and so that's about the story about Alfred the King and Aethelstan. Now speaking about the literary characteristics, so Old English is actually a combination of Brittonic language plus Germanic language. Okay, the language of the Celtic people who were there, who were the true inhabitants of Britain, and the Germanic language of the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. So the most important what components of Old English were poetry, which was done by the Scopes and Bards orally. So the many of these poems are not known to be existed today, or which have got no manuscripts. They were all lost. So it was the first form of poetry which was conveyed orally and was first written down in 737 AD is regarded to be Beowulf. And here you can find that Old English language, it was rich in alliteration, kennings. Kennings is actually the compound words. For example, in order for in order for blood, we use battle sweat. So that is what we call as kennings. Then we have caesura, alliteration, rhythm. These are all some of the Old English literary characteristics. And the major themes that you can find here are the heroic and elegiac themes, celebrated heroic deeds, warrior culture, and also reflected on loss and mortality. But the change was that the Germanic tribes, they believed in chivalry, they believed in warriorship. But slowly, with the arrival of Christianity, Christian themes also came into prominence. So you can find a blend of pagan and Christian beliefs due to this conversion. Okay, so blend of pagan and Christian beliefs due to conversion, in the sense, for example, at first, one great example is Beowulf itself. In Beowulf, you can find that Beowulf is celebrated for his warriorship. He is celebrated for killing people, killing the villains. But at the same time, the villain Grendel is regarded to be a descendant of Cain, and Cain, we know, is a biblical character. So that is the blending of pagan and Christian beliefs that you can find as a result of the arrival of Christianity, and also the conversion of Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. And slowly, with the arrival of the poets like Caedmon, Cynewulf, the Christian poetry also emerged alongside to this heroic poetry. And other important thing that you have to remember is the manuscript culture. That is, Old English poetry, as I said earlier, it was conveyed orally, which was later written down in manuscripts. And there are major 4 manuscripts that survive today. That is the Exeter book, the Junius manuscript, the Vercelli book, and the Beowulf manuscript. These are the 4 manuscripts that you can find that survive today. The Exeter book, the Junius manuscript, the Vercelli book, and the Beowulf manuscript. Now, speaking about the major literary works of this Anglo-Saxon period, we have the Beowulf, which is regarded to be the first epic of English literature, and the detailed PPTs and videos of all these literary works are there in our LMS platform. So if you are a student, you can go through the LMS platform to see the important facts and information regarding all these works. But anyway, I will wrap this up. So Beowulf is regarded to be one of the greatest work. You can find alliteration, kennings, caesura, everything, all of the literary features that we discussed earlier in Beowulf. And then we have the Wanderer, the Seafarer, which are regarded to the Finnegan's Fragment, which are regarded to be the work, as examples of this lyrical poetry, where you would be lamenting about the loss of battles, about the loss of the good days during the battles. Then we have the Christian examples of Christian poetries, the authors Caedmon's hymn, which is a 9-line poetry, which is regarded to be the first poetry when it comes to Christian poetry in English literature, and Caedmon is regarded to be the first English poet. Then Cynewulf, then the works like The Dream of the Rood, which all deals with the Christian theme. So basically, the major literary works of Anglo-Saxon period can be classified into 3: heroic poetry, lyrical poetry, and religious poetry. I have mentioned the examples of 3 of the works here. Then we have one of the major writer of that period of prose, that is Venerable Bede. One of the greater writer is King Alfred himself, who has translated many works into prose, who promoted English over Latin, and therefore he translated many works of Latin to English, including Pope Gregory's works, St. Augustine's Zalukis, etc. So anyway, Venerable Bede, his most important work is Ecclesiastical History of English People. So Ecclesiastical History of English People, along with Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which was initiated by King Alfred the Great, is regarded to be the chief information that we get, or chief text that we get regarding the Anglo-Saxon period and its historical details. So Venerable Beck, he is therefore regarded to be the father of English history, and he talks about the early Anglo-Saxon period, and it is through his works, he mentioned, through his work that we get to know about the arrival of Christianity, the conversion to Christianity, the development of Christianity, and about Caedmon and his life. These are all mentioned in Ecclesiastical History of English People. One thing that you have to remember is that this work was first written in Latin, and it was later translated to Old English under the guidance of King Alfred the Great. So Venerable Bede is also one important writer. Now let's look Anglo-Saxon period in a nutshell. So in 449 AD, Angles and Saxons, they first arrive in Britain, and from 5th to 7th centuries you can find this slow arrival of Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, and 590s to 700 Anglo-Saxons convert to Christianity, and by 700 AD the entire British population was almost Christians, and 787 AD you can find the Viking invasions begin, and as a result there was an establishment of the Danelaw, and in 937 there was the Battle of Brunanburh, and 957 to 975 England united under King Edgar, and in 116 Nut becomes the King of England, and 116 to 1042 England was ruled by Danish kings, and in 1066 there was the Norman conquest. Okay, so these are some important things that you have to remember from Anglo-Saxon period. So Anglo-Saxon literature, it refers to the literature produced in England during the Anglo-Saxon period, which actually includes the arrival of Anglo-Saxons and Jutes to England, the settlement over here, and finally they consider that, for example, England, the very name came from the Ankle land, the land of the ankles, and it also known as Old English literature. Anglo-Saxon literature, it is also known as Old English literature. It was produced by this Anglo-Saxon people who are the Germanic tribes. Therefore, Old English is actually a combination of Brittonic language plus Germanic language, and it has got some important poems like the epic poem Beowulf, the lyrical poem The Seafarer, the Wanderer, the Christian poems, the religious poems like the hymn, the Cynewulf's poems, the Dream of the Rood, etc. So that's all about this video. Thank you.